So, Infinity Legends, Capoch and BacT coming in versus Gunji, Kamigawa, and Modri. We are gonna have Arabia, Kawasan, Team Acropolis, Natsukotra, and Forest Pond as the home maps. Natsukotra and Kawasan hasn't been played so far in tournament, as we got a raid from Graf. Thank you so much, I appreciate that a lot. Welcome everybody from your stream. We're just about to start with the next set of the day. Humans and Teutons are the global bands. World 1 will consist of Franks, Mayans, Vikings, Chinese, Mongols, and Lithuanians, Aztecs, Britons, Khmer, Vietnamese for two teams respectively. Other side is gonna be Sicilians, Incas, Koreans, Celts, Byzantines for Capoch and BacT's second pool. Turks, Goths, Portuguese, Burmese, and Spanish will be the civilizations for RoR and Modri. With that being said, I think we are good to go with the next set. So Capoch and BacT, the second seed in the qualifiers versus RoR, who already played one round, will jump into game number 1 over here. So Gunji and Kamigawa were the players that only played in the first round. Let's see if Modri gets a shot today. It looks like we'll open with Gunji and Kamigawa as well. Two very skilled team game players mainly. Individually they are good, but not as good as Capoch or BacT. Gunji the team game master, and Kamigawa slightly better in 1v1, but also heavily team game focused. We're gonna have Gunji in red as Britons, and accompanying him is going to be the common Arabia pool to cavalry civ Turks. Especially with the scouts coming in that have the extra pierce armor, and their knights are also alright. So Turks are being seen more and more as your budget cavalry civ in this tournament so far. We have an early eagle coming in here for BacT. Laming is allowed, so you can go try to lame sheep, try to lame Elephantarino over here, and in the meanwhile, it looks like BacT wants to land an early hit on our red players' Vogers. Quick walls are failing for Gunji, and you gotta ask the question if this was worth it. I think he could have just ran back to the TC. Oh my goodness. That feels so disappointing. So, with that, this eagle is most likely going to be history. Well, you can tell this is BacT playing. There is the first pause of the game after 3 minutes, so that's nice. Yeah, obviously it's hard to decide. I totally agree that this is hard to decide if that quick wall is needed, but in retrospective, this wasn't really a needed quick wall. So basically, BacT exchanged his scout to the life of one villager from a Gunji over here. Kamigawa is going to be on the north in yellow with Turks. His base is okay-ish, although this gold is something I dislike a tiny bit. We'll have Gunji with a quite underwhelming gold over here, as BacT has an absolutely amazing map. BacT's map is absolutely beautiful. Look at that, Beckberries, gold is nice, easily volable. This is a dream map for BacT. The only problem for him is that he can't really push in there because he actually lost his scout trying to kill that villager. And finally, Capoch, front gold, but not that awful. So we're gonna have Capoch playing Franks over here, and Incas will be the civ for BacT. That's a very reasonable civilization combination, to be honest. So Incas are often renowned for their villager rush and tower rushes, but Incas is actually a very good archer civ. In fact, in 2v2, Incas are better for an archer civ than Aztecs are, because they do have Tumbling and Aztecs don't. BacT, what are you doing? Oh, you're gathering your sheep. Because guess what? You lost your scout, so you have to gather your sheep with your villagers. So, here we go with the Elephantarino, BacT bringing it in, and he's going to weaken the elephant with the TC, something that we were observing a lot in Hidden Cup. Players just weakening the board with the TC, or at least some of them do not. Early wars coming in here for Gunji. He's gonna be down by one villager. But he can somewhat compensate by pushing in some deer, so at least his early food eco isn't going to struggle that much. Obviously, being one villager behind is definitely not an idea for this situation, but still, he shouldn't really be that much behind, to be honest. Losing an early villager hurts, but it's not the end of the world. BacT coming in here with what is going to be a fairly late rush, but since he doesn't have his eagle ready, he won't be able to block villagers. Still, we'll see if Ganji is actually going to be able to spot these militias in time, because he's right now pushing in deer, and if his scout was here right now, he would see the militias, but I think he will be just too far away from those militias, pushing the deer close to the TC, that he spots the militias too late. Quick walls are going to fail for Ganji. His villagers do have loom though, so I don't think those militias will be able to accomplish much. There's 2 villagers over there that they could pick off. Quick walls coming in here from Ganji and Kamigawa, so that means that these militias won't be able to accomplish much. Ganji's quick walls are a little bit late in general, but it might just be because it's game number 1 and he isn't perfectly warmed up. Still, after losing that early villager, he's going to defend nicely against the rush. He won't really have big walls, he will just use quick walls on the wood lines. With that, we will have barracks up for Kamigawa. He's going to drop the stable right over here. I would have preferred if that was like 2 tiles more to the front, just for the sake of securing that gold. The barracks is also a little early for Kamigawa, but he will just drop the stable right here. Indeed, that's a nice spot for that. Militia still trying to push their way into the wood line, but that's not going to be successful. Ganji will end up going up at a 21 pop, but that's a 22 pop equivalent timing, because he lost a villager. Still, Britons have the sheep gathering bonus, there was deer push as well, so that at least didn't delay the uptime of Ganji considerably, and once he has an archer out, he's gonna be able to clean up those militias. With that being said, a lion was weakening the villager here for Capoch, who's going for some big walls with capital B. He wants to wall off this entire corner over here for himself. Feels a little bit overly ambitious, to be honest. Militia still trying to get to the wood line, unsuccessful so far, and Ganji is gonna bring in the archers in a matter of moments. Man-at-Arms upgrade coming in for BacT. He didn't plan to go for Man-at-Arms, but he still has the militias alive, so Man-at-Arms could make sense for him, although there's already archers coming out, so it's probably not that decisive. In fact, I don't think that this Man-at-Arms upgrade is going to help at all. You will just lose those 2 archers. So, scouts now coming in for Kamigawa. He's massing scouts back at home before moving out. And speaking of scouts, Ganji is here to take revenge on his opponent for that earlier villager kill. That's a fairly low HP view, so you could try picking that off, but it looks like Ganji will not take the risk and just disengage. BacT will finish off his walls right now. Range is up for him as well. Obviously, faster working Briton ranges helps quite a bit. So, in feudal, Britons just clap Incas in terms of archers. In Castle Age, you can debate that because Thumbring is there for Incas, but obviously their range is going to be shorter. These scouts won't really find anything. Capoch already walled himself off, and that means that he will be super duper safe. His scouts are moving forward. He ran into a spearman of Kamigawa. We will have scouts coming in, and those walls aren't finished. Those walls aren't finished, and that is going to be a disaster for Ganji. That's 1 spearman against 5 Frankish scouts. That's not going to be enough. You can jump that spearman, and oh my goodness, that's a disaster. That's a disaster over there. Quick walls are now coming in for Ganji, but he's already down by 1 villager. Make it 2, make it 3, and oh, that's an absolute disaster, man. He's bringing the archers to help this out, but I mean, he's down to 28 villagers compared to others. Make it 27. And, well, somewhat underwhelming. Somewhat underwhelming over here. So, I feel like he should have walled this off a lot earlier. Like, I'm not sure why he didn't focus that much on walling. He felt like, okay, I'm confident with my quick walls, but that didn't really happen. And, well, walls are now up, but he's down to 29 vultures. Far from ideal. So, with that, we got one spearman poking down the slow house over here, not really doing much, but he's relentlessly poking it down, so one day this house is actually gonna go down. With that being said, there is more archers on the field for our British player, and that's something that you always want to keep in mind. 9 archers against just 5, and there isn't really a lot over here either, so there's a chance Gunji and Kamigawa will be able to take a favorable fight here, especially with the extra pierce armor on those Turkish scouts. They can definitely withstand some arrow fire from our blue player. Still, it looks like it is just a bit of an army dancing right now. BacT is waiting for reinforcements to come in from the south. Now it is Capoch asking for a moment, so apparently he's embracing his teammate being BacT. Nice fight over there. That's a very, very nice fight for a yellow player, and it looks like at the end of the day, they clean up the men-at-arms. Obviously, it's not ideal to trade scouts to men-at-arms at this point, but I feel like Capoch kind of left BacT to die there. Because at the end of the day, that's most of the archers going down for BacT, and I did mention that in Feudal Age, it is a disaster for BacT that he lost all his archers. Castle Age now coming in for Capoch, though it's a super fast Castle Age. Gunji is also, or Kamigawa is gonna go into Castle Age as well. 13 archers against merely 3, and these walls won't stand for long. That's just now the second range for BacT. 2 ranges were up for so long for Gunji with the faster working ranges of Britons, and this is gonna be tough for BacT to wall off. This is gonna be extremely tough to wall off. Nice market wall coming in here. There's still a tile of gap in between, though there is definitely a tile of gap, and even if just the scouts run in, that's a disaster. For BacT tries to wall this off, and I think he will have enough time to wall this one off. He picks off one villager though. Scouts now counterattacking the base of Gunji. Castle Age coming in for Kamigawa and Capoch at the same time. The biggest problem is that Gunji is nowhere close to Castle Age. So you see that BacT is on the way to Castle. He just masses archers inside those ranges and waits until crossbowman kicks in, and then he's gonna be able to take this fight. Still, Bloodlines on the way for Kamigawa for himself, and it looks like they will actually switch focus towards Capoch, because they know that BacT doesn't really have a lot of archers, and BacT's archers are also slow moving, so they will try to force a fight at Capoch's base. The problem for them is that Capoch is going to be up to Castle Age, which means that knights will come out from double stables. And that means that these archers will have a really tough time surviving. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised to see Gunji just falling back to his base. Gunji will click up to Castle Age right now. The punishment that he has taken on his eco, I think, is now showing. Because that's a very slow Castle Age compared to the Inca player. You see that he's behind by 1.5 minutes or so. Capoch immediately 3 TCs. Goes for 1 on wood and 1 on the gold, the back. Very, very nicely done so far. Second TC coming in here for Kamigawa, going for the knights as well. Obviously, the Turks want to win this game before Imperial. They will have the light caps, which helps quite a lot. Those light caps will be extremely helpful. With the extra pierce armor they have, they already have 4 pierce armor. And if you get the +2 defense from Blacksmith, it's gonna be +3. They can actually save your teammate, and that's the way to do. Kamigawa needs to use those light cav to intercept these archers, even the crossbows over here. When chain boarding kicks in, this is going to be 5 pierce armor, which means that a crossbow shot is going to account for just 2 damage on a light cav. So this entire army could be cleaned up, and that's extremely important. They know that the crossbows are coming, and this would be a disaster fight. This will be a disaster fight for BacT. He's going to get the crossbow just now in before +2 defense comes in for Kamigawa, so they actually end up disengaging. If they fight a couple of seconds earlier, that could have been slightly better, but the presence of the light cap with the crazy pierce armor actually help out immensely, buying time for Gunji, who's gonna go for +1 defense to somewhat compensate for the fact that he doesn't have crossbows just yet. I don't know if sending the light cap in from that side was a good idea, although you might open the wall and send the knights out over there. Still, that gold mine is very, very, very problematic for Gunji. He's gonna have to evacuate that for a moment. Crossbow Botkin coming in right now with fast ballistics for him. Soon, those archers will become crossbows, and eventually this army is gonna get annihilated. +2 defense in for Capoch already, same for his teammate. Crossbows are now in, and The only thing I didn't like here for this fight for Kamigawa was that the light cav were fighting against the knights and not necessarily against the crossbows, but still, this is an excellent fight. At the end of the day, once again, BacT is down to kind of underwhelming crossbow numbers, down to 14, and these knights from Capoch will also somewhat get cleaned up, +0, +2 versus +1, +2 over here, so slightly better upgrades for Capoch. Still, a couple of knights like this will be intercepted, and we will have ballistics coming in here for a Gunji. But look at this! Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! The walls are failing over here, and while we weren't looking, Capoch is just overrunning Kamigawa. Holy smokes! Kamigawa is down to 47 villagers, Capoch booming at 58, and so far it seems like a massive advantage for Capoch's team here. It's not big things, it's just a couple of small things like losing a villager in Dark Age for Gunji, one bit of a tile of wall failing, but that's enough to finish the team off. And you see now there is a 15 villagers lead almost for Capoch's team. There's just knights all over Kamigawa's eco. It's 10 knights against 13, and where's the crossbows at for BacT? He's probably going to hit Gunji's base right now. Gunji is coming in to try and do some damage to Capoch's base, but you see Camo's already coming in to clean this up. They will clean it up. The problem is the remaining eco. 43 for a cavalry player against 65. And as I said, Turks want to win this game fast in Castle Age, because in Imperial they stand no chance with heavy cavalry against Franks. They can go Camos, but Camos will just melt to Arbs. So they have to play sort of Cavalier, but that's not really going to happen over here. So Kamigawa stabilizes, but he's behind by 20 villagers overall with his teammate. If these crossbows can do some damage, maybe there's a small chance for Gunji and Kamigawa, but that seems like a really small chance. So, crossbows denying gold mines over here, that's actually a nice find, but Capoch still has a gold mine at the back of his base. Second TC just now coming in for Gunji. There is one TC for BacT playing with triple range archers. Crossbows will soon come in with +1 defense, no +2 just yet on either side. Still, if you keep applying pressure to Capoch's eco, you might actually be able to accomplish something in this game, but it feels extremely hard with 77 to 53 villagers for the two cavalry players. That's the biggest problem. Kamigawa has lost way too much. He has lost 13 villagers, killed 0, and he was also 2 TCs, whereas his opponent was on 3 TCs for quite a while. Now it's 3 TCs as well for Kamigawa, but the difference is still going to be there. Anyways, that's a nice find over there from Gunji raiding the back of BacT's wood line. BacT will have no trouble cleaning this one up unless he doesn't micro his units. BacT does have ballistics, but still nice micro over there from Gunji to lower those crossbow numbers. And it looks like now the crossbows might be heading towards BacT once again. Knights? How did that knight get in? There's actually a hole there. I'm not sure if they want to commit against that hole though. You don't really want to run in here and take this fight against all those crossbows. +2 defense, nothing for either side still. That one knight is actually trapped in between the stable and the walls, and by the time Capoch opens up the walls, he loses one. Stable slowly going down over here. And a couple of villagers are definitely getting killed. I like this monk from Capoch. Heals up the knights, is actually a nice little touch for him. He's now under heavy pressure, that's for sure, and his gold mine is somewhat idle here, which hurts because these villagers bump into each other here. So, the gold mining efficiency for Capoch isn't really great, but look at that. BacT is close to playing a 1 TC Imperial here. He's got 32 crossbows against 41, and Capoch is still 91 villagers against 63. I feel like this game is just going nowhere for RoR. They're trying their best, and after a scary start, they're slowly climbing back, but I feel like this is a very, very slow climb back over here, because, as I said, their opponents were just going to Imperial here with the crossbows. That being said, that's a disaster for BacT. He's up against the hill, and he got many of his crossbows intercepted here. Nice juke and dive over there with the crossbows, but still, at the end of the day, you are going to have those crossbows cleaned up, and this is the time to shine for Gunji. If he wants to finish off his opponent here, this is the moment, because he's got the crossbow numbers to do that. And as I said, Imperial Age, is going to be soon a thing for BacT, but they might get overrun by better Castle Age units or more Castle Age units. Knight numbers are still very close. Capoch still has a fairly decent eco lead. In fact, it's an enormous eco lead compared to Kamigawa, 72 to 98 villagers. So I feel like if you are Gunji and Kamigawa, you might want to, you know, commit to a full Castle Age pressure and just run in. And that's an overchop. That's an overchop for Capoch. That's a big overchop. It is about, how many? 22 knights versus 18. Many of these knights are actually weak for Kamigawa. +1/+2 for both players. There is no +2 defense on either side still on the crossbows. Imperial Age now in. For BacT, he needs to retain his crossbow numbers though for Imp. So some crossbows will be coming in from Genji once again to hit the back of BacT's eco, and he could definitely kill quite a lot of villagers. If it's Imperial from BacT, I feel like that game could be over, although Genji is going up to Imperial as well, and he's just going to be 10 seconds behind. And the crossbow numbers are way better. The other thing to point out is that BacT doesn't have Thumb Ring or yet, even though he could definitely get that with Incas. The bigger question now is what's going to happen between Kamigawa and Capoch. Funnily enough, Kamigawa and Genji actually have the score lead, despite the fact that they're actually behind. They're not actually behind that much, because even though Kamigawa is behind compared to Capoch by 25 villagers, look at the eco lead that Genji has over BacT. Now the thing is that in 2v2, the cavalry player is more important than the archer player, so it's better to have the better eco for a cavalry player than it is to have it for the archer's player. But look at this. If you finish off BacT like this, and this could be a lot of dead villagers, especially because there is an overchop, if you finish off your opponent like this, suddenly it becomes a 2v1. And it really looks like BacT is gonna struggle quite badly against this aggression. He's chasing these crossbows with his own crossbows, but look at how far behind he is, and simultaneously RoR commits to this engagement. They're taking down the stables. They know exactly that, hey, if we limit the production of the opponent, that's going to result in a fairly decent situation for us. BacT is down to 41 villagers. He's gonna have 47 orbs soon, but the orbs will be there as well for Genji, and the range advantage will be extremely important as well. They can just lock down this gold mine, and Capoch is slowly running out of gold. That's something that we should keep in mind. Capoch has one of these gold mines over here. He is unable to take that. This gold mine is out almost, which means that even though Capoch could soon click into Imperial, does that matter? I think this is the big fight though. The hill is still on the side of Genji over here. Arbalest will be in a matter of moments for both players. +2 attack is in for both sides. This is the fight, but the hill advantage is on the side of Genji, and he's also gonna have Arbalest a couple of seconds faster than his opponent does. Now firing down hills with the orbs. Knights also a little bit hesitant to engage in here. Micro is still going to be extremely important, but Britain's holding this hill with 10 range is gonna be crazy. And that's going to be a massive advantage, and as I said, you just pressure that gold mine. No chemistry for BacT up until now either, and Genji and Kamigawa slowly climbing back in here, +2 defense just now coming in. An Arbalest counterattack will actually be launched towards Genji's base, but look at the ecos. Kamigawa is now completely even with Capoch in terms of eco. Capoch is up to Imperial, and he wants a castle here. If this castle is denied, RoR I think has the game, because Capoch is not going to have any gold income. That being said, RoR sees the castle, and they will dive in on that. I don't think this castle is going up, and Capoch isn't going to be in Imperial, but without gold. Without gold in Imperial, and this many knights can dive in on the TC, it looks like it's going to be a big knights counterattack from Capoch, forcing away the knights from Kamigawa most likely, although Kamigawa can just make a couple of camels to deal with this one. Nice raid over here by Capoch, but the thing is that it's all about the gold control. Capoch won't be able to replenish his knights in this case. He's just TCing the other gold mine. And on the other side, Arbalest now pushing in here from BacT. BacT's eco is still really weak, 46 eco only. So really he doesn't have the numbers. And look at this, camels cleaning up the knights. And the problem is that Capoch will go down to something like 20 knights or so. 20 knights for Capoch. He's gonna upgrade them to Cavalier, sure, but he doesn't really have a reliable gold income, even though he TC'd this gold now. But still, that's not necessarily reliable. And look at BacT, 18 Arbalests only versus 60. Soon BacT is gonna get over on the left side with Arbalests, and more importantly, yes, Capoch is gonna have Cavalier, but he can't mess the Cavalier, that's the problem. He can't mess the Cavalier, and he's still gonna be up against an awful lot of Arbalest. And now Coinage coming in here for Ganji, which means that he will actually be able to start slinging his teammate to Imperial. I feel like if Kamigawa and Ganji get into Imperial, then they will actually control this game. Or well, Ganji's already Imperial, but if Kamigawa gets to Imp, that's going to be a massive advantage, and if that TC goes down to the Arbs, and it will, the Arbs will just camp here with their 10 range and just keep camping out Gold Mine. 51 eco still for BacT, and he's gonna get pressured by the Arbs. On the left side, another castle is gonna be denied from Capoch, and just now Cavalier, but no plate barding, it's only 12 Cavalier, and when there is no archer support from BacT, you can switch into Halberdiers. So Halberdiers could be very possible over here. You see the resources climbing for Kamigawa, Voyager count actually getting better and better, and the Arbs are just everywhere. The Arbs are everywhere. They're hitting the gold mine, the wood line. BacT is in trouble here, in real trouble. And still, that is a reasonable amount of Cavalier over there with +4 defense soon. But at this point, you see the Cavalier, and you once again will try to focus them down. The Arbs are pushing in deeper and deeper. These trees actually provide a very, very good choke point for those Arbs. With 10 range, they can start shooting at those Cavalier very early on. And look at this. Look at BacT's eco. He's got none. Look at this. Idols here. Idols here. There's nothing that BacT can do against this one. He's 54 Voyagers. He's getting out-microed by crossbows. These crossbows have +2 defense, so do these. And on the other side, Voyagers are now getting torn apart from Capoch, and Capoch is losing his food eco. Capoch is losing his entire food eco. He's got Cavalier, but he's got 14 Cavalier on the field. And the thing is that there is no archer support from BacT, which means that camos can be a thing for Kamigawa. He can just add camos and just kill the knights with that. And look at this. Just a couple of Arbs picking off Voyagers left and right. BacT is down to 50 Voyagers. And surprise in the making, so to say. Capoch and BacT are the massive favorite players in this one based on seeds. They are the team that is seed number 2 in this entire tournament. But Kamigawa and Ganji are winning this right now. 90 Arbalests for Ganji. And he's dropping a cast in the face of his opponent. BacT, I don't know. Does BacT have even any eco working? Idols wherever I look. Now it's Light Cav from Kamigawa coming in against the archer player for some raiding. It's Cavalier still for Capoch with +4 defense, sure, but he doesn't really have the numbers, nor does he have the eco to replenish them. Just look at the flood of Arbs. It's a never-ending flood of Arbs. And Capoch drops down to 99 Voyagers. Overall Voyager count is 140 with 50 idols right now. And Imperial Age is soon in for Kamigawa. So with no archer support from BacT, heavy camos could still be a thing, or just Hussars and raid your way into the game. Now this gold mine is denied. Capoch actually has 26 on gold. He gets the 2 castles up, which means he's able to access this gold. But now he doesn't have food eco. Capoch has 26 on food, and when these 15 Voyagers pop out of this TC, which will happen in a moment, they will just get all torn apart. Capoch is down to 77 Voyagers, 54 combined military. As a reference, there's 84 Arbs for Ganji's team, and after a scary start for RoR, they take over in game number 1. And I did mention that individually, Capoch and BacT are better players than Kamigawa and Ganji. But team game-wise, Kamigawa and Ganji play an awful lot of team games together. There is a reason why they are very high rated in team games, because they keep playing team games all the time, and they take over in game number 1 after a very, very scary start. For quite a while it looked like it is going to be an easy win for Capoch and BacT, but what a comeback. And man, the qualifiers are delivering. I'm really, really happy about how the qualifiers are so far going in. So with that, we have game number 1 in the hands of RoR and Modri, and we will have Kawasan or Team Acropolis for BacT and Capoch. Mayans, Vikings, Chinese, Mongols versus Sicilians, Koreans, Celts, Byzantines available in Pool 1 and Pool 2 for Infinite Legends. Lithuanians, Aztecs are both available for RoR and Modri. I would think that Lithuanians will be the civ for Team Acropolis, and Aztecs will be the civ for Kawasan. With that being said, let's just go for the next game over here. RoR versus Infinity Legends. And with that, we will jump into the next game over here, especially if Capture Age is willing to cooperate. But Capture Age, please. Okay, he's fine. He's fine. Alright, once again, Ganji and Kamigawa will be playing as we will have Kamigawa on the right side playing as Gods in yellow, and that's a fast loom over there for our yellow player, so we'll see if there's actually some laming involved in this. Khmer for Ganji in red. This is the interesting part. They had Aztecs and Lithuanians in pool 1, so they go for neither on this map. In Kawasan, you have all the relics in the middle. In fact, it's 6 relics. It's very possible to play good Lithuanians here because you can go for fast dock potentially. You can go for the relics in the middle fairly easily as well. Or you can play Aztecs as well and secure the middle. With that, it looks like we're going to have Khmer and the Gods play over here. The Gods have to play something super aggressive here because the Khmer is likely going to be the cavalry player, although Khmer has a somewhat underrated archer play, so Khmer does have Arbalest to play around with if they need to. Left side is going to be BacT and Capoch. BacT is playing Vikings in blue. And we'll have Byzantines for Capoch in green. Okay, who is your cavalry civ here? Byzantines? That feels like a somewhat underwhelming composition. One thing is good about Byzantines though here, you're up against Goths. So if this game goes very, very long, Capoch could be a thing. So yes, Byzantines has Paladins, but those are some super underwhelming Paladins. They do not have Bloodlines, and they do not have a Blast Furnace, right? So that is just a super underwhelming Paladin. So it's actually one of the worst Paladins in the game. Alright, so first board coming in here for Kamigawa. I'm looking for a villager that goes forward, but it seems like there is none just yet. We'll see if there is any docking coming in here. BacT is going to dock the back pond over here. This is the safest pond. There is basically always 2 safe ponds and 2 contested ponds. So the safe pond is in between the 2 teammates, and obviously contested ponds are in between 2 enemies. So the safest place to go for fishing is obviously the pond in between you and your teammate. That's where BacT goes with his fishing eco. We got no fishing coming in just yet for Capoch. He's gonna be the one going for a contested pond. With Byzantines, that makes some sense because he's gonna have the better fire galleys. So that helps quite a bit secure the water for himself. Dock is coming up as well for Kamigawa on the contested pond, and it looks like we're gonna have dock as well for Ganji. So everybody is docking in this 2v2 setup. Interesting is the fact that we have so many berries in the middle, but Franks was used up by Capoch and BacT in Arabia, so they don't really want to mess around with those berries for now, especially in 2v2 that might be a little bit overly dangerous. So, early war was coming in here for Ganji. I would love to see him dropping those houses, at least one of the houses close to the wood line. In case he gets raided like he did previously, he can jump into there with Khmer. That's always a nice touch to do. Like these walls, because they secure the gold mine quite nicely over there. And with Kamigawa, that's a very, very unfortunate spot to kill the boar. It's sometimes hard to lure in boars with gods, because gods do more damage to boars with their villagers. And what that means is that you kill the boar very fast. If the boar decides to go the wrong way, you have very, very short amount of time to react. It's much harder to avoid a situation like this with gods than with any other civilization, because you kill that boar so fast. So early was coming in here with a BacT, and we're gonna have a fast loom from him as well. I would think that he's going to try fighting on land over here because he's on the safe pond, and I would think that's the plan as well for Ganji, so he's probably going to just play scouts over here. And, well, for now, it's 7 on wood. It, I think, used to be a free wood start, so I would assume it's a scouts build right now for Ganji, as he's slowly walling himself up. Scout around to harass a little bit, but this Voyager has Loom, so no Voyager kill will actually result. Anyways, Kamigawa not really playing with a lot of Vos, and that's going to be just a standard-ish galley rush. I don't think he's gonna go for any archers. Gothic archers are somewhat underwhelming in any way, and for now it's just a scout looking at that gold mine. That's actually a very, very nice mining camp spot over there. This quick wall isn't actually finished. So, not sure why those are there. Early wars coming in here for Capoch as well. He's 4 on gold, so it looks like both IL players will actually play with fire galleys. Although, BacT probably will make like 1 galley to make sure that his pond is safe, and then he's just gonna go archers, because he's not on this pond. He could definitely drop a dock here and try to push the fishing geek off Kamigawa. For now, the teams are dead even in terms of ecos, as we will have the Vos slowly finishing here for a Ganji. It would be nice if you actually volled this crossing off. It's not really a big deal, and it would secure a lot of space at the back instead of walling all the way around like that. So, wall here, and if you are Kamigawa, you can just wall here, and then you have your back very, very safe. So, with that, it's gonna be a double range archer play from our blue player. HP advantage is on the side of no one in this one, and here comes a spearman. That's actually a Viking spearman, so it's a little sturdy beast here, 50 HP. Scout Scuffle coming in as well on the north. Scouts are now in for Ganji. And what is Capoch doing with Byzantines here? Is he going scouts? The answer is no. He's not going for scouts. In this case, it's nice to have the Byzantines here with the fire galley, but no one is actually on this pond, so it doesn't really matter. And this could be an interesting setup, because we'll have a range coming in here for Kamigawa, potentially for a couple of skirmishers, spearmen poking down the fire galley over here, but the fire galley will still win the engagement. So, at the end of the day, it looks like we had 1 player from each team going for water, but really no one is actually fighting on the contested ponds. But what's more important is that this scout could actually find a Voyager kill over here if BacT isn't paying attention, or these scouts could go that way. I think these guys are spotting this Voyager on the outside. Quick walls are actually going to happen for Capoch, nice move over there, but the walls go down because foundations have been nerfed a tiny bit, and as much as Capoch is trying to escape, the silhouette of that Voyager will disappear, and that's a Voyager kill for Ganji. So, with that being said, the back of the base for BacT is somewhat open, especially the gold mine is what is problematic. The wood lines are walled off, so that's not really a big deal, but now these scouts could loop around and hit the back of the base for BacT. Meanwhile, we have apparently range with archers and skirms. I cannot even tell you how much I dislike these Vos. These are an absolute disaster Vos against an archer build. This will be a much easier wall to do. I'm not sure why that's happening. It looks like we'll have a scout coming in here for Capoch, trying to pick off the walling Voyager. And here's the deal. Why are you not walling like this? You're going to leave your teammates back quite open, and look at how ugly Kamigawa's walls have to be for this one. These are some disgusting walls. With that, that's another Voyager pick over here. Once again, BacT tried to quick wall that Voyager, but the wall was broken through, and Ganji picks up the second Voyager of the game. 4 Voyagers behind Ganji's team is still, and you gotta keep in mind that there's also a wheelbarrow for our Vikings player over here. Archer is now looping in for BacT, potentially hitting the berries. It looks like Kamigawa has already moved out with his archers and skirms, so his base is gonna be very much exposed to these archers, which might be going all the way around and hitting Ganji. Fishing eco for Capoch is actually pretty big, 8 fishing ships. There is also 8 fishing ships for BacT, somewhat smaller for Ganji and Kamigawa. only 5 and 6 respectively. So that's the source of the eco lead for Infinity Legends, so to say. So with that, that's a Snaky Villager coming in here for Capoch. And the Byzantine Fire Galleys are always scary. Let's see if these scouts find this Villager before the dock is finished. It seems like that's not the case. They will just miss this Villager by a very short time. They might kill the Villager, but the dock is up. And right now, Ganji doesn't know about that. And that could be a decisive factor, especially with the Byzantine Fire Galley melting fishing ships very, very easily over there. There is already a fairly decent lead, I would say, for Capoch's team, because even though they're now behind by 1 Voyager, Capoch is going up to Castle Age here with Byzantines, and the fishing eco could propel him to a very, very early Imperial. So it might be a 1 TC imp for Arbalest. Super fast here from Capoch. There is a dock up here as well from him. And I think that at this stage, even though he's taking into skateboarding, I would think that the idea, as the skirmishers here will just get poked down, the idea is going to be that he goes for a fast war galley. He's beating everybody to Castle Age over here. Ganji is actually not that much behind, but he's going to be patient, waiting for the fire galleys, and then he's actually going to click war galley when he reaches Castle Age. Indeed, here comes war galley, and he will just annihilate Ganji's fishing eco here. I think Capoch and BacT are playing this one a little bit better. The scouts are doing some work, but not an awful lot. Now, Kamigawa spots the dock on his own pond. Castle Age coming in here as well for BacT. I think the biggest problem is that you don't have anything for the gods right now that would be beneficial for you. Like, using gods as an archer save is somewhat of a disappointment, I would say. Heavy skirmisher play from BacT. He just wants to make sure he doesn't die to the archers. They know exactly that they are leading. There's a dock attempted here by BacT as well, apparently. So he's already prepared for his teammate clearing the water, and he can start fish booming. Here comes the fire ships, and they start taking down docks really fast. Ganji could try going for his own fire ships, but that's gonna be awfully hard because of he's up against Byzantines. He dogged the pond of Capoch over here, but Capoch will actually realize this, and he will be able to destroy the dock without problems, I think. Oh, Nilly. Oh, Nilly. The puns. The puns. Indeed, there is 4 pools. But I approve that pun. I approve that. Oh, why is this tournament called 2 pools when there's 4 pools? Well, currently, there is 0 pools for Ganji and Kamigawa and 4 for Capoch and BacT. But, well, at least this somewhat one-sided game is actually going to be better with Nilly's spawn. Next time we'll call this 4 pools, okay? There's... Wait, hold on. Where is Krazini at? How do you actually put camels into Kawasan, which is a Japanese-themed map? Last time I checked, camels don't live in Japan. Let's completely ignore the fact that there's knights here, but camels? Hello? On Kawasan? We have to have a talk with Krazini about this one. It's like, camels. Alright, the dock is still up. Fire galleys are in, but no fire ship just yet for Ganji. Even if that was a fire ship, Byzantine fire ships will eat that. 104 eco compared to 88. And a fairly firm control over this one, but you should never forget that there is the gods with the spam potential, and the castle is up for Kamigawa. So the thing is that BacT could go for his own castle and go berserks. That should be good to go against this one. Knights coming in now for Ganji. And remember that in the previous game they were also on the back foot eco-wise, but then they just go for a full aggressive play. We are gonna have the crossbows coming in to deal with the knights over here. Knights do have +2 defense, so they should be able to take this fight, but they decide not to. There is a very, very clean reason why it's not actually listed as Infinity Legends over here, because if I write Infinity Legends, everybody will be like, who is Infinity Legends? It's easier for people to understand if it's Capoch's team, so you see them over here. that's basically the concept. I could just write RoR versus IL, but then people would be confused who they are. So, we'll have a couple of Huskars out for Kamigawa, but those are somewhat underwhelming. They have 0 upgrades, and as things stand, the Vikings pair can actually progress towards Berserks, or the green player can just go for Capoch+BacTs. So, with that, +1/+1 knights are in, no bloodlines for these boys, so the somewhat underwhelming Byzantine knights are coming in. This is actually a very, very good spot to take a fight for crossbows. All these choke points make it very, very easy to just outmaneuver those knights. At the end, the crossbows get cleaned up, but Huskars aren't really doing great against the knights whatsoever. You see the knights are just gonna clean this one up, and we're gonna have these knights intercepting a couple of crossbows over here, but really the question is if this game is going anywhere for Ganji's team. They're behind by 17 villagers, and I don't really see the momentum. That being said, 57 villagers is nice for a Gothic player, and you should never underestimate the chance for Goths to boom into just a flood of units, because all you need is like 20 Huskars running into the opponent's base and suddenly his eco is gone. I like this little longboat over here denying potential redocking, so Capoch and BacT will have a happy fishing over here. And look at that, Capoch is even adding fishing ships on this pond, so his eco is crazy, 83 villagers. Although, you gotta add that this is a free TC play from Ganji with the Khmer, and Khmer farming might be able to compensate for that extra fishing eco. Free TC as well for Capoch, but he doesn't have an eco bonus with Byzantines, basically. So, the Khmer farming with 72 might actually be comparable to 87 villagers with Byzantines. So with that, we're gonna have Imperial Age coming in here for BacT. He's actually sending villagers on stone. With that, he could still go Arbs. He's got 22 crossbows, and I believe that he will go Arbs. He's not really forced to go Berserks right now. There is a couple of Huskars out, but that's not really threatening right now, especially with Capoch having some knights. They will take down a stable here, and potentially a second stable as well. Scale Mail coming in right now for Kamigawa. Not really close to Imperial is either of the RoR players. And, like, worst case scenario is that, as I said, BacT goes for Huskars. Oh no, BacT goes for Berserks. I'm confusing the unique units. We'll have Imperial coming in here for Capoch in a moment as well. He already has it queued up on one of the lesser... it's not really the safest TC here, but it's not really a big deal right now either. Still, reasonable amount of knights for Ganji over here. But still, that's Anarchy with +2 defense. You still gotta be careful, because one thing that Capoch doesn't really have is those knights close to his teammate's base, and we have seen how BacT just died in the previous game. So, with that, Imperial Age for 2 players over here from our cold color team, and no Imperial Age for either Ganji or Kamigawa. We're gonna have a 4th villager here, probably for some relics. It might make sense to go for the relics now. It's, I mean, 6 relics for nothing. Random camel still in the middle of the map. And now the knights break in from Capoch. Still just +1/+1, no bloodlines, goes for +2 defense. But they have a fairly decent eco lead, and they will be in Imperial Age in a matter of moments. This is more concerning for Ganji. Those crossbows will have bracers soon, although there is no Arbs. And that's quite a lot of knights with +1/+2 forward stables coming in for Capoch. But here's the deal. If Capoch is sticking his knights around here and pushes Ganji's base, there is a chance that Kamigawa can get a couple of Huskars into the eco of BacT. In fact, I think that should be the case. If you get these 20 Huskars into the eco of BacT, that should start causing a lot of chaos. And Arblast just now in the knights here for Ganji. Pretty sizable amount of army, and the upgrades are going to be slightly better than the ones from Capoch, although Capoch is now getting iron casting. Here come the Huskars. They just wait for one decisive engagement. Here's the first castle from Capoch, and I would think that Capoch Arbalest seems like a very, very decent army comp over here. Huskars will have to try and fight the Arbs, and the Knights just have to act as a meat shield. All buildings deleted over here, whatever it was, now it's gone, and I don't think that the Huskars can really attack those Arbs. Cavalier just now coming in for Capoch. This is an extremely important battle, because if this army goes down from Capoch, and it seems like it will, just before Cavalier would hit, he's gonna go down to like 10 Knights or so, then the next wave of Huskars should go for BacT's base, and suddenly there is gonna be nothing that kills those Huskars. There could be Berserks very soon, but that was a fairly good engagement, I would say, for Ganji and Kamigawa, and Ganji is also going into Imperial, and the Gothic player might just keep applying the pressure to BacT. Like, basically what you have to make sure is that Ganji is able to survive against the Cavalier here. That's gonna be scary, because that's Cavalier with +4 defense, but no bloodlines. Might be doable for Ganji. His cavalry is gonna be weaker, but not that much weaker, as Berserks are now coming in for BacT. I think if you're the Kamigawa, you gotta go for the eco though, but he's going for the eco, and never underestimate gods with 103 villagers. And the thing is that there is Cavalier on the field for Capoch, once again increasing numbers, but there is no siege. And Ganji is almost up to Imperial as well. BacT apparently not noticing that his villagers are getting absolutely disintegrated over here. That wood line is gone, and he struggled against the raids the previous game. We'll see if that actually happens here as well. That's a lot of Cavalier, and they start to become scary. Rams on the way too. So Ganji is still in a bit of a trouble here, because that starts to be a very scary force of Cavalier. Still 30 seconds away from Imperial, but then he still needs Cavalier, he still needs +4 defense at minimum to take this fight. They actually deny a castle here in the middle, as Capoch's team has pretty much even villagers over here. Random Huskar running around killing villagers as well. I think you need to apply a lot of pressure if you're Kamigawa. And the Imp TC! The Imp TC! Oh my goodness! Okay, educational video over here. Kids, learn that the Imp TC must be the safest town center. Because this is what's gonna happen if that's not your safest town center. 93%, it's gonna go down something like 95, and that's the game. Because without Imp, Ganji stands no chance. That is the Imp TC gone. And that's why you want your Imp TC to be this one. It's always the safest TC on the map. Because now you lost the Imperial Age progress, and you don't have 3 more minutes. You don't have 3 more minutes until you actually have Cavalier. Like, what I was actually referring to. Capture Age, apparently freezing for a moment. So, basically, until you go up to Castle Age, the entire concept of Ganji surviving. Capture Age. Okay. We're dead? We're dead? Hello? No, we're not dead. It's not a GG. It's not a GG, it's just Capture Age freaking out. So don't worry about that. Game paused. We're good. We're good. So, with that Imp TC gone, the chances of Ganji and Kamigawa are probably also gone. If he actually got to Imperial and gets Cavalier, I feel like he can hold this, or at least he has a chance to hold it until the raids of Kamigawa start to materialize. He won't have the chance to hold this one against +4 Cavalier, because it's still, the HP is the same, but the attack is 14 as opposed to 11, although there is quite a lot of Huskars on the field over here. This is not a game that Ganji and Kamigawa should be winning, but you never know, because those Cavaliers are still not amazing and the Huskars are just flooding and flooding and flooding. This is still extremely tough for Ganji, and they shouldn't really win this game after losing all that Imperial progress, but you gotta consider that it's a fully boomed Gothic player now, and we'll have Barracks coming in here for Kamigawa. Fun fact, BacT never walled this one off over here. Also, a Huskar is still doing some damage over here inside Capoch's base. Eco's still in the favor of Capoch, and now he's running inside. There will be the elephant switch. Rams go down, important piece here to slow down this push. You gotta slow down this push as much as possible. That's your only chance We got some villagers moving forward over here. Some of them will be intercepted by the longboats. And really, Kamigawa has to do some massive carrying in the previous game. I think the previous game, the Arabia one, was carried heavily by Ganji's Arbs. Now it is Kamigawa that has to do the carrying, and see, he's just now up to Imperial, but he already lost all his knights. The problem with the elephants here is mobility, although he traps those cavalry over there. And Khmer elephants are still scary. Imperial Age just now coming in for Kamigawa. Berserks will find the villager here though. And if it's only elephants and infantry, Berserks actually start becoming a good unit. Or Cataphracts potentially even. But you gotta consider this horde of Huskars here. And really, the only way for RoR back into this game is by raiding. You gotta make sure that you actually raid the opponent's eco to death. Even the lion is helping here for them. So, once again, nice cleanup over here on the Arbs, but Berserks will actually do fairly decent, although these Zerks have very little upgrades, just +2 defense against +2/+2 Huskars. And never underestimate 114 villagers Goths. And also, our Khmer player is at 84 villagers. Here comes a castle drop from a Capoch. 84 villagers isn't amazing, but Khmer is actually a decent sieve for rebooming. And remember, these Huskars could kill quite a lot of villagers really fast, and the next wave of Huskars is coming towards Capoch's base. Elephants now take an engagement. They do have +4 defense, and they're actually pretty decent against those Cavalier. Here come the pikemen as well to support, as they intercept the force over here, and oh my goodness, is this the comeback again? Is this a comeback again? Because the more I'm looking at this, the more I'm seeing that this castle is gonna go denied. These Huskars could go straight towards Capoch's base. It's now Berserks for BacT, and there is not really any good response to the Berserks from Kamigawa, though. That's the main problem that they're facing. That this is a great flood of infantry, but it comes too late. So, elephants will survive for now, but what do you even do against the lead Berserk? The infantry of gods will melt. The elephants won't be super efficient against those either. And I feel like you might even make a case for Capoch+BacT and Berserk here. With that, you're gonna have a fairly open south here for Kamigawa and Ganji. I would like to point out that they don't have trade. They don't have this corner over here. It looks like we already have Infinity Legends setting up their trade from these two corners. The barracks here has been cleaned up. And for now, those Berserks are actually increasing in quality. Now they're elite, which is one of the most important upgrades for Berserk. It increases their attack by a crazy number. Here is elite Elephants, still no Tusk Swords, obviously, because there is no castle over here. And here comes the blob of elephants. By the way, in the middle, the relics are still somewhat uncontested. 4 of them out of the 6 is still there. Imperial Age in for Kamigawa, though. And as I said, it has to be raids to have any chance at this one. No Halberdier in just yet, but those Byzantine Cavalry are still somewhat underwhelming, and now it's Byzantine Hussar, oh my goodness. No bloodlines. Byzantine Hussar is gonna be awful here. Unless you actually use them for raiding, which could be possible. Stonewall's coming in for Ganji, so they want to play this one out, and now it's Elite Battle Elephant coming in here. And with that castle could actually be somewhat more problematic to keep up. A Viking Cav Archer. Here's a Viking Cav Archer on the field. Now elephants taking down that castle, and without castles, no Berserks. Without Berserks, no tools to stop the infantry other than Capoch+BacT, and Capoch is actually going for Capoch+BacT. Here come the Berserks against the elephants. There is no chieftains on them though, I think. And without chieftains, they're not actually amazing against elephants. But they still do fairly well. I did mention that I think that Berserks will clap the elephants, and they do clap the infantry as well. Castle is now contested by 1 Treb, but I feel like the amount of Berserks now on the field is too much. If Chieftains is in, this shouldn't be winnable for Kamigawa and Ganji. So, okay, Chat is saying that there is Chieftains. In that case, that's probably over. Because there is no tools right now from Kamigawa to stop this. The elephants just got eaten up completely, and you already see Rams stables pushing in here for some added effect. Cavalier, like leftover Cavalier, will be used to raid, and I feel like the biggest problem is that the Gothic player isn't able to raid. They are now down by 60 military. I think at the end of the day, that MTC being denied was the final nail in the coffin. So if they actually kept that MTC up, then Ganji would have had Cavalier instead of Knights in that fight. Probably would have taken a much better engagement. Then Kamigawa retains more of his army, can potentially do more raiding on BacT's eco, but really the only way for them to win this game was the Gothic player raiding the opponent, but they were too late with that. Now it's Berserk's out. Ganji and Kamigawa tap out, and with that we have an even score over here, but this got scary for a moment for Capoch and BacT as well. It took them an MTC being lost to guarantee the win, and with that, game number 2 in the hands of our Infinity Legends. So, with that, we got Mayans, Chinese, Mongols remaining from Pool 1 for IL, Sicilians, Koreans, Celts for their Pool 2, Aztecs, Lithuanians, Vietnamese still available for RoR, so that's definitely a positive from that perspective. And they have Portuguese, Burmese, and Spanish left. Their home maps will be Forest Pond and not Socotra. So we'll see if we go into Not Socotra. This would be the first time we go to Not Socotra. It's a Battle of Africa 2 map. So let's get going. And indeed, it's Not Socotra, the first time in the qualifiers where we're going to see this map being played. And with that, welcome to Not Socotra, and look at who is jumping in. That's why the score is wrong, because Modri is in, ladies and gentlemen. So first game was won by Ganji's team, and second by Infinity Legends, and they channel the power of the ultimate clown on what could be a clown-like map. We're on Not Socotra, which is indeed a map. It is somewhat similar to Socotra. It's a very tight, aggressive map, although it is much better volleyball than standard Socotra is, and there's a lot of wood on the outside. This was played in Battle of Africa 3, I believe. No, it's Battle of Africa 2. Battle of Africa is still at 2, and KOTD was at 3. So Boa 2 was the last time I think we saw this map over there, as we'll have the first elephant come in fast over here from Modri. You gotta be fast with your elephant lures, because the players are so close that oftentimes we're actually seeing the elephants being lamed over here. Yeah, it was played in both Boa 1 and Boa 2. The reason why I'm not saying Boa 1 is because I've not seen Boa 1 myself. The first Battle of Africa I saw was Battle of Africa 2. Same with KOTDs. The first KOTD I saw was KOTD 3. I saw like very small bits of KOTD 2, but I was merely a viewer at that time. So Aztecs for Modri in yellow, and we're gonna have Portuguese for Ganji in red. Ganji is probably going to play either cavalry role or potentially try to vow himself off and go for some organ gun shenanigans, because the distances are so small here that you don't necessarily need cavalry here, and the map is actually very well volleyball because of these wood lines in the middle. Aztecs in Battle of Africa 2 were used very frequently for monk pushes, and monk pushes can be extremely strong here. That's why they channel the power of the clown. Modri is a beast with monks, and with that, it's going to be an interesting one. Take a look at that for sure. You see the early wars are already coming up. We'll have Ganji playing Portuguese in red, as I said, and right side will be Capoch in green as Celts. And we'll have Mongols for BacT in blue. Understandable, you got a lot of hunt to work with, so it makes quite a lot of sense to go for Mongols on this map for a fast feudal age. So, with that, we're gonna have a beautiful lumber camp over here. That is an absolutely amazing lumber camp spot. These are also acacia trees, so they have more wood on them than standard trees. Decent lumber camp spot over here for a Ganji, same for Capoch and BacT, but this lumber camp is a beautiful one. That's genuinely a perfect lumber camp. So with that, we got Woz coming in here for Modri. Obviously, in Dark Age you can't build stone walls, but if it was possible, Modri would probably build stone walls. The big arena master is actually called upon here for Natsukotra. So with that, we're gonna have Old Deer being pushed in here. It looks like Capoch is running around with his scout, very, very low HP though. Eats some TC fire as well, and there is no exit over here soon. So I think the scout might go down unless Modri fails with the trap. Apparently, Modri doesn't really want to trap that scout over there. So with that, Wars are almost up. It looks like it's gonna be nice and easy. Team Wars, and with that, Capoch loses his scout. That hurts a tiny bit because you want to push in some of your deer, although they're fairly close, so you can just send out villagers. But still, here's a drush. The only way you stop these walls from going up is by getting an early drush in. We'll see if that actually is going to be successful. It depends on whether or not Ganji sees that, and Ganji doesn't see it. What is that lumber camp? That was an interesting lumber camp for Ganji, cancelled it really fast, and here's the problem. Capoch is coming in with the militias, and the entire plan was a fast castle behind the safety of those walls, but you can forget the safety of those walls. The militias are now in, and you see the ping red saying, oh shoot, there's actually some militias heading our way. That being said, the militias actually got through, but this is the better situation, to be honest, because you can wall this one off, and the militias won't do that much of a damage if you have loom. So you can just wall these villagers in here, and they shouldn't really do that much of a damage, especially once you get up to field age. You will have 2 field age scouts cleaning them up. Even though one of them is an eagle, so it doesn't really matter from that perspective. Although they force walls like this, which is less than ideal. Quick walls here will actually stay up. Nice move over there. And with that, this wood line is going to be secure. You gotta finish these walls off. And it looks like BacT is going for a fairly aggressive archer play in this one. Walls coming up for Modri. Well, might be a bit of an overreaction to the militias, but if you ask Ganji, he might think otherwise, because that's a villager going down. That's a villager going down, that's gonna hurt. Shouldn't really have been the case over here for Ganji, but good news is that the game where he lost the Dark Age villager, they won it. That was Arabia. Indeed, Nikov is pointing out an interesting thing here. There is no stone on this map, so Mongols only benefit from the hunt, and that's basically it. There's absolutely no stone on this map. So yeah, they get the benefit from the hunt, but this is not going to be of FC either. This is just a straight archers play, something like 20 pop or 21 pop archers timing. So yeah, it's nice, but it's not really amazing, as that militia is just still going to be running around trying to be a bit annoying on the hunt. Still, Ganji is gonna have a fairly easy way going into Castle Age here. He has an awful lot of villagers queued up. So, with no stone, I completely forgot that you can't even go for organ guns unless you're crazy and you buy yourself a castle, which would be extremely expensive. So, it's gonna be monks from the Aztecs, that's for sure. We have double layer walls. The question is what the Portuguese player does. Could just be knights, to be honest. So with that, the militia is going to trade some HP to the scout over here. You gotta be careful, save that scout, because you don't want to lose your scout at this point. And with that, Modri is gonna be fully walled. Market Blacksmith coming up for our resident clown over here. He's a little low on food, so he's gonna have to buy some. I think that's why he's mining gold like a madman. So if he's actually able to buy some food, he should be good to go. He was a little late with the huntables, and that's why he's gonna struggle a bit with food. Buys 100 food. He also apparently sold his stone, because he's down to 20 stone. How did it even happen? He didn't make a single tile of stone wall. It looks like everybody's starting with 20 stone. I get that now. I get it. So, I think that was slightly different for Battle of Africa 2. I think they started with 200 stone, but it seems that they actually started only 20 stone. On this map, we'll never know if this is a typo or an actual feature. With that being said, Modri is gonna be safe behind double layer polycide walls. The bigger problem is Genji, who's gonna have some nice contingency walls. Natsukotra always had 20 stone? Well, I learned something new today then. I never realized that. Makes some sense because you don't want to turn this into a tower fight. even though it would be interesting, one of the things that makes Socotra crazy is all those crazy tower fights. Loom coming in just now for BacT, as right now these archers will try to get something done here at Genji's base, but it's something that is very, very unlikely to happen. Stable blacksmith up for Genji, a little bit low on food he is, but he should still be good to go to Castle Age very, very soon. Anyways, Castle Age is almost in for Modri, and based on the amount of gold miners, 3 or 4 monasteries. Time to make your bets, people. Is it going to be 3 or 4 monastery monk play? Regicide Socotra with Dark Age Thrashing. Regicide Socotra wouldn't really be that great because you would have a castle to start with. So, it's time to count monasteries, I believe. Archers will actually deny this gold mine, which is a bit of an annoyance for Genji over here. He is going to click up to Castle Age soon. He needs a market to buy himself up though, because his food count isn't absolutely amazing. His food eco was harassed here a little bit. He's definitely playing this one safe. You can tell that they were just playing with 10 layers of walls just to make sure. 2 monasteries right now for Modri. He's going to get a gate done as well. I'm disappointed, Modri. Only 2 monasteries. It feels like an underinvestment. Modri usually goes for 3 or 4 monasteries on Arena. That being said, there is actually 2 relics over here that is very easy to pick up. And if you think about that, there is more relics on this map than normal, for a grand total of, I think, 8 or so. Yeah, it's 8 relics. So, if these wars actually succeeded, then this would be about 4 relics for Modri with Aztecs, which is a fairly decent buff. And also your teammate can pick up relics, and the Aztec relic bonus is a team bonus, so he also benefits from that. With that, here come the monks, early sanctity coming in for the HP buff. And the real question is, how do you follow up? Probably forward Siege Workshop. And BacT knows exactly that, okay, I gotta go stone walls. He uses the little stone he has to do some stone walls, but that's indeed the little stone he has. And the problem here is that the best way to stop a monk and siege push is with a defensive castle or guard towers. Neither can be accomplished without any access to stone. There's a lot of archers over here, but mangonels will still be troublesome to fight against. Their sanctity monks are coming in right now. And as I said, the main question is, what is Genji going to do? He might just go for a couple of knights to try and support this push. So here comes the Siege Workshop. You gotta be careful not to get that denied, because otherwise you will have no answer to those archers. I think Modri can be very, very lucky here. It's super lucky, actually. BacT sees the workshop, but he didn't commit to stopping that. He could have stopped that workshop, and that would have been a disaster. Now it's gonna be scouts getting converted or not. For now, it's going to stay safe. Scaleboarding for Genji, so he actually will play knights in this one. Double stable knights, most likely. The question is, what is Capoch doing? Because Capoch is playing 1 stable scouts. So he's going to play scouts to fight off the monks, and then he's going to add 2 more TCs. So it's basically scouts defense with a free TC boom. 3rd monastery now coming in. Actually, okay, now that's the Modri I know. That's the Modri I know. 4 monasteries. He already has Sanctity. I think Fervor would be a nice upgrade for him right now, but he probably wants Redemption first, because there's a chance that BacT wants to defend with siege weapons. There will be scouts from Capoch, but it's only 1 stable scouts right now, and honestly, a free TC boom here is a little bit greedy. He might just let his teammate die. As we're gonna have 2 or 3 mangonels. Modri is being patient. He doesn't want to commit to this one before he's 100% sure he can start doing damage massively. First relic is in. He will eventually pick that one up as well. Knights are now out for Genji, but he isn't really doing much. He's just making sure that there is no sneaky units here at the back. Crossbows are in for BacT and Capoch. Capoch will be playing 3 TCs, BacT is just playing 1 for now. By the way, Capoch had to buy the stone he needed for the TCs. Keep that in mind, that he needed to buy the stone, which was fairly expensive for that. Also, Capoch has a lot of front stones, so this push could actually be very, very problematic. Alright, here it is. The monk push coming in. BacT is going to let his teammate know, okay, here they come. We know that they're coming. I think it's somewhat predictable when you see Aztecs here. And Aztecs was a pool 1 civilization pick for Modri's team. It's not a good archer civ for 2v2 really, because of the lack of thumb ring, but for situations like this it can be extremely helpful, and it's already 3 mangonels. As I said, he was waiting until he has a good number of mangonels, so he can start melting buildings like crazy. Crossbows will try to scare away the knights. Knights only have +1 defense, and bloodlines on them. There is scouts from Capoch, but what you have to make sure is that you just go for the knights to make sure that the scouts can't actually reach the monks. Light cap from Capoch. I wonder if Ganji and Modri know about that stable, and the answer is no. So they don't know that Light Cav will soon flood them. The monks now have one more upgrade on, so it's 55 HP. And that's a 5th monastery over here for Modri. He is sitting on 2 relics right now with Aztecs. Villager count is heavily in the favor of Capoch's team, but if there is one thing that's scary in this game, is this one. 3 mangonels, soon a 4th one coming in. BacT just casually losing his archer range over here. He's gotta be super careful with his crossbows here. One bad move and he loses his entire army. As now the light cav are being assembled, Capoch is getting husbandry. They're also playing this one patient. So it is just going to be a matter of making sure those light cav can kill the monks. But that many monks will just convert the light cav, that's the thing. And the other thing is that that many monks will heal each other so fast that it's actually going to be hard to kill them. So monastery number 5 is in, and Modri is playing like a madman, although I don't really know when he needs 5 monasteries. When he's not making monks on the back ones, maybe it's just because he wants to make sure that he can actually have the monks close to the field. Here come the knights, here come the mangonels. Here's the big push. That's the only TC that BacT hasn't. Remember, replacing TCs is extremely hard over here, because you don't have stone to mine. So you have to buy the stone you need for a TC, and that's 5 mangonels. That TC should be gone. I feel like now Capoch is coming, and this will be spotted. Modri's Villager might actually spot those light cav looping around. This is the moment that they will see the light cav coming in because of that Villager, and Modri's gonna do some conversions on them. Modri's monk micro is actually pretty good overall, as look at that. BacT is trying to repair, but if you don't have any stone in the bank, you can't repair the TC. He had to buy 100 stone for this one, and you won't be able to repair against that many mangonels. The only TC for BacT is going down. Now the mangonels pushing the crossbows over here. There's a mangonel, and look at that. That's a friendly meeting of the mangonel conference in the middle, if I've ever seen one. That being said, that's going to be now hill advantage for Modri over here, firing down hills against that mangonel. As Capoch is just trying to go for full light cav now, but there is going to be eagles. If you would go for pike right now, I feel like Capoch and BacT could be in big trouble. As there is no redemption, so you can't actually convert those stables right now. 2 monks get picked off for nothing. Monks are a little bit spread out here, which is not ideal. Still better eco for the team of Capoch, but soon you will have to consider that many mangonels can actually ground attack half of your light cav off. And that's also a lot of knights. So soon we will have to consider that it's +2 knights over here in huge quantities, and those light cav just can't find the angle to attack. Here come the crossbows once again. Well, Ripperino. Imperial Age is coming in for BacT. That's the only TC that he has for imping. But what is he exactly going to do in Imperial? Because I don't know. I think he's just gonna die, and there is nowhere to go on this map. That's the ugly truth about Socotra. He's still making crossbows back at home. Here comes the light cav, though still it is 20-ish knights, and they will just block the access of the light cav. Nice ground attacks by the mangonels, and I don't think this is enough. As I said, the monks will just heal each other. It's 65 HP monks. This is over. This is so over. All the light cav are dead. What did they kill? They killed like maybe 5 monks at maximum and maybe a couple of mangonels. But ground attacks, knights, monks healing each other, and 65 HP. And with that, that's over. BacT is dead. He's got nowhere to go. And his teammate, I mean, he's making Celtic light cav over here. BacT is legit going defeated over here. He still has some crossbows inside his teammate's base. Congratulations. That's the Imp TC as well, so apparently it is RoR taking revenge for the previous game, and it's a desperate effort to quick wall your Villagers with archer ranges in here, but there is nowhere to go. BacT once again had to buy some stone to repair that TC, 83%. but Knights are just bashing down the Voyagers casually. This game seems over. Voyager count now equalizing. The Mangonels give up on this. The Mangonels actually gave up on the TC, so BacT will reach Imperial. BacT will reach Imperial here. 58 kills to 15 deaths for Ganji right now. And, well, BacT reaches Imperial. Now they actually will regret ignoring that TC over there. A little bit of a zigzagging here with the light cav. A couple of Mangonels will go down. Bit of a miss micro from Modri in the last couple of minutes. He's an Imperial Age indeed with 11 Voyagers and 16 military. It is 2 Mangonels going down though. That's for sure. No TC remaining and the Knights will just run in. BacT is gonna go defeated. He's 11 Voyagers, but that's... And look at Modri. Modri actually is pinging this on the map. You see that yellow cross? Modri is pinging, hey, guess what? That's all that BacT has left. My goodness, here comes the stable conversions, and I want to see 4 style points of Xolotl Warrior. No, BacT is resigning before we could see Xolotl Warriors, but the Clown brings this one in for RoR. That's why they selected this home map. And we saw everything but Xolotl Warriors. I wanted to see some in a tournament. I think the last time we saw it was Red Bull 2. Still, you see why Modri was added to this team, and you see why this map was picked overall. BacT actually closing the game out with 1 Voyager. I would like to point out that this lady was very close to dying as well. So that's the only Voyager left for BacT. Alongside that, he's got 8 crossbows. Quite a lot of them just went down to what I believe was a Mangonel shot. So currently, BacT's population is just 9. I would like to show the timeline for this one. As you will see, BacT's slow and painful death here. He reached Imperial with something like 30 population. And at the end of the day, Genji killed 72, lost 20. Modri, 37 kills, 23 deaths. And it's surprising, it was only 8 conversions in the entire game. So it wasn't really about conversions, it was about the Mangonels mostly just melting the buildings. In this one, and the Knights finishing off the light cav. Capoch had a great eco, but, well, his teammate was just die. Did they actually... I think I just jinxed English really badly over here. But anyways, with that, Modri and Ganji take game number 3 over here. Indeed, you can change players whenever you want. If you have a backup player, you can sub it in anytime within a series. What did the infinity symbol under conversions mean? It actually meant that it was... There's a conversion to... like converted units to lost units to conversion ratio, and if you don't lose any units to conversion, but you convert some, your conversion ratio is infinity. Same thing, if you kill 10 units and you don't lose any, you will have an infinite KD because of mathematical stuff. Well, that's a series for us, that's for sure. So, with that, we are gonna jump into game number 4 over here. RoR and Modri with 1 game advantage. We'll go to Team Acropolis, which is the final home map of Infinity Legends. They have Mayans, Chinese, Sicilians, Koreans remaining. Could be... maybe... what is this going to be? Koreans and Chinese maybe, and Chinese will be your cavalry civ. Or you're saving Koreans for Forest Bond. Koreans don't have demos, so it might not be a good idea to do that. So there is a lot of things that's worth considering in this one. So with that, we're actually going to jump into game number 4. So Infinity Legends, seed number 2 in the qualifiers, very close to getting eliminated by RoR. That would be a massive upset, I would say. I thought RoR is gonna have a chance because they're good in team games, but this is still scary right now for Capoch and BacT. Once again, it looks like Kamigawa is back, so I will have to set the score once again. So we're at 2-1 scoreline right now. We'll have Kamigawa and the Ganji on the north as Vietnamese and Spanish. A very, very good combination of civilizations remaining for them to point out. It's an extremely good combination of civs, Vietnamese and Spanish. You do remember, I'm just going to switch back to lobby for a moment, just to take a look at the civilizations and the draft. They have Lithuanians, Vietnamese remaining, and Spanish being a pool to civ here helps quite a lot. Because that's an excellent cavalry civ. You could have gone Lithuanians here and then go for your other civ, which was, I think, Burmese as your archer civ. But this is a better matchup, I believe. So, it's a very good cavalry civilization with a very, very good archer civ. And with that, on the other side, BacT for Mayans in blue and Capoch in green, Sicilians and the Mayans. I like the Mayan pick here better than the Vietnamese one, although it's debatable because Latin archers is something that Mayans could struggle against. But the Sicilian cavalry is going to be way worse than the Spanish cavalry, especially late game. So you gotta play this one fairly aggressive if you are BacT and Capoch, otherwise late game you should have trouble. Luckily Team Acropolis is a map that you can and should play aggressively, so there's gonna be no trouble for them getting that done. With that, let's take a look at the maps of the players. So with that, we're gonna have a hardly wallable map for BacT and Capoch. This is extremely hard to wall off. So you see that this dark patch spans to the back of their base, which is obviously a disaster. So, like, you have to wall all the way to here, and then here you have to wall, I think, around like this or so. Other side, we will have a comparable map for Ganji and Kamigawa. Hard to wall, but not impossible. This is actually a very, very good wood line for Ganji. For Acropolis standards, it's fairly big overall. We will have free on wood for Kamigawa, so he's most likely going to open scouts here and not just go for FC. We could see something like FC Kongs as well, and I think the Vietnamese player will go Rattan Archers right away, most likely. The real question is what the Spanish player does. It could be sort of a scouts play, poke and probe, see if you can pick off a couple of Voyagers, and that is going to be an early drush here from Mayans player. But here's the deal. Does that drush accomplish much to you? Because by the time they get to the opponent is gonna be somewhat walled, and more importantly, they will pretty much have loom by the time they actually get here, especially if Kamigawa is going for a scouts build. He's gonna have loom in like 4 Voyagers or so, and by the time those militias arrive there, you pretty much won't have the chance to kill a lot of Voyagers. With that being said, BacT is slowly walling up his front. Militias now coming in. Second board just now in for Ganji and Kamigawa as well. So, walls coming up on the right side. That's some nice ones for Ganji. He's got a backstone. This goldmine is quite awful, so that's going to be a little bit problematic to use. And he is trying to push through a deer at a position where there is no hole. There is no hole over here. You see that this tree and this house is actually locking down this crossing. It's a little deceiving, and I like these walls quite a bit from Ganji. It looks like Ganji tries to push in the deer from the bottom of the hill, but apparently deer doesn't really want to cooperate, so that's not gonna happen. Anyways, one thing to point out is that there is extra boars here at the bottom, so if you're risking it, especially with Mayans that get early loom, you could walk out and take an extra boar for yourself. Here comes the militia. We already have walls on the front though for Kamigawa, and it looks like indeed Kamigawa is gonna go for a 21 pop feudal with loom. Eagle might actually try delaying this Voyager. There is no loom just yet for Ganji, and this is the moment for BacT. He's got to delay that wall. Scout in for Ganji, but a Dark Age Eagle beats a Dark Age Scout, so this is not a winnable fight for Ganji by any means. Militias on the way. For now, Ganji just needs to delay that Eagle or take the hill. Nice move to have the upper ground again, and you can use this little valley over here in between the two hills to out-micro your opponent, and all you need is one tile of side over there to make sure those militias are not getting in. The Eagle is on the inside, but you can just drop a house here as well and block that. With that, militias will not accomplish much over here. I think the walls are fully finished. Loom as well in for Ganji, so these militias will absolutely not accomplish much. Can I ask what that barrack spot is? I mean, you will not really be using your barracks over here. For the Spanish players, it's not really a big deal, but that's a very, very ugly barrack spot. We have seen something like that in one of the qualifiers. We even had some stables being built at the back. So wars will almost be finished here for Kamigawa, but he's gonna be open for a bit of a moment. I think Ganji saw the militias, so he knows that it's coming towards his teammate. He should tell his teammate, hey bro, you better finish your walls fast. It's going to be a stable coming in at the back, not necessarily the most ideal spot, but you gotta use it to wall your base off, and you start walling the front, so that's why you build a stable at the back. And since our cold color team will be fully walled as well, the idea is that you will just make a couple of scouts and just boom into Castle H here, basically. You won't really commit to a lot of army. I would be heavily surprised if we see more than 4 scouts over here. With that, you're gonna have a fast castle play over here from Ganji. Goes 27 villagers, and this was no drush, so this should be a 27 plus 2, and a fairly clean, fast castle into Rattan archers immediately. Capoch, on the other hand, is going for an FC as well with Sicilians. He is... Is it an FC? It is an FC. It's 27 villagers. He already has a Brax though, so it's probably going to be stable blacksmith fast castle from him. And for BacT, it's a Drush FC with 28. That's 27 villagers timing, by the way, with Mayans. So a little bit tight, but Mayans should have no trouble with that, even though without Deer Push it could be a little bit scary. When is Nili and Jordan playing? After this one. So after this set, Nili and Jordan versus Whitecourt and Noisik, I believe. So with that, we'll have the farms up for Kamigawa. He's gonna have a fairly decent farming eco with Horse Color over here. His teammate just reaching a feudal age, and with that, only 2 on stone. So this is not gonna be an immediate Rattan Archer play. It's gonna be probably delayed, and you will see TCs first. So I would be heavily surprised if it was straight Rattan Archers, because 2 on stone is not really enough for that. Add 2 more, and then 2 more comes from the TC. Probably you add at least 1 more TC before you go Rattans. Market Blacksmith up for our red player. And we have a Blacksmith stable play from Capoch. The scouts will see this, so they know exactly it's an FC into Knights over here. And with that, these scouts won't really be able to do much. They will be able to do some scouting, believe it or not, but they will just be able to spot the buildings. I think it's somewhat predictable based on the uptimes and the civilizations that it's gonna be fast castle knights from Capoch, and it's gonna be ranges from BacT for archers. On the way to Castle H, he is single range only for him. Castle H coming in as well for Ganji. He's now 6 on stone, so he's actually gonna be able to afford the castle immediately. This would be a nice castle spot on the gold mine, and then later on he's gonna expand the TC over here or over here, could be reasonable. Other side, we have a beautiful TC spot here for Kamigawa, potentially over here as well, but something like this and this should be good to go. So with that, you see Kamigawa is on 12 farms, so he's already thinking about going up to Castle Age. As I said, a couple of scouts will be added in here for some scouting, for some harassment. You can idle 1 villager basically by harassing these walls, because 1 villager has to come in and repair. But other than that, you can't really accomplish much more than that. I'm not necessarily a big fan of that range, because it's going to block one side of the gold, which could be problematic later on. Not really a big deal, but not necessarily great at the end of the day. And the last to click up to Castle Age will be Kamigawa, but he's gonna have the chance to have a slightly stronger eco than Capoch. Capoch actually went for FC, so all these farms, I believe, are without horse color, or at least some of them are. These new ones are with horse color, and they will have an insane amount of food on them, thanks to Sicilians. But we're gonna have a TC coming up here. One of the nice things about this TC is that there is a boar close to it, so you can just get a bunch of food. And that will help his early food eco. And that is a nice find for Kamigawa. BacT actually tried to expand his base. Don't ask me why this house happened. At the end, the scout won't be able to pick off the villager, so BacT survives, but I have no idea why he was trying to make that house over there. Because expanding his base, maybe like this, I'm not sure if that's worth the risk. With that being said, the militias will be able to spot the castle, I believe. Yeah, they see the castle, so they know it's Rattans. But what do Mayans do against Rattans? That's the problem. You could say Eagles, but I don't think that there is any composition that Capoch and BacT can do to beat Paladins and Rattan Archers here. You see the blue ping on the map. There is indeed BacT telling his opponent that, hey, there is a castle up. And with that, there's a second TC coming in here for BacT. 3 TCs up for Capoch. And he is already mining a bit of a stone over here. That's stone, I believe. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tiles. It has to be stone, because there is no gold that spawns with 5 tiles. So, with that, range upgrade just now coming in here for Gunji. He's still on stone, so he will actually drop an additional TC fairly soon once he can afford it. He's low on wood right now, because he's focusing on food. So he's a consistent villager production. Villager numbers right now fairly close. Rattan Archers being queued up without Bodkin Arrow. And with that, it is going to be Bloodlines for Kamigawa. Second TC coming in just now. He's not dropping a TC over here on the left side yet. Capoch actually found the TC of Gunji over here, so he knows about that. Question is, what can he do to pressure this? Boar is also in for BacT over here. So using the extra boars with your extra TCs helps quite a bit. You can also take the hunt here for some added food eco. Crossbows moving in on the left though. This could be scary. Luckily for Gunji and Kamigawa, they will actually spot the crossbows. I am not sure if Gunji actually saw those. It was, I think, a good move from BacT that they didn't kill the scouts, because in that case there was no alert for the attack. And if Gunji and Kamigawa weren't specifically looking here or looking at the minimap, I think they didn't see those crossbows. And if BacT and Capoch attacks the scouts, then they actually revealed that the crossbows over there. This could be a big push, especially because the villagers are moving out. Indeed, it looks like Kamigawa and Gunji have no idea about those crossbows, even though their scouts ran right next to them. This is an excellent easy spot, but guess what? There is a bunch of crossbows here that will kill the villagers, might even kill the huntables, and now you have to reveal your crossbows. Well, at least Kamigawa's gonna have the chance to notice this. He's going to lose one, slow reaction from both players, but this could have been better for BacT. He's going to kill maybe another villager, but there is now a knight coming in. Juking and diving is Kamigawa, but loses another one. Still, those crossbows will be cleaned up. Over there, 3 TCs for BacT, spreading out across the map. The villager here is still a hero villager, going for the TC. Knights attacking down hills, +1 defense, Bodkin on, Bloodlines on them. Crossbows will die. Still, there is 14 crossbows for BacT, so he's got a fairly decent army. But still, there is gonna be the third TC coming in here for Kamigawa. His eco isn't looking that shiny, to be honest. 41 villagers against 48, and that's gonna be his counterpart. The bigger problem, I believe, is that the cavalry player, Capoch, is booming like a madman. He's on 4 TCs soon, 62 villagers. Overall villager count heavily in the favor of Capoch's team. And we'll have a 3 TCs soon for Gunji and Kamigawa. But as I said, it's already a massive eco lead. The unit composition is still way better for Gunji and Kamigawa, especially as the game goes on. But you gotta consider that their eco is not as good as the opponent's eco. Still, being behind by 20 villagers right now and being behind 20 villagers 10 minutes later is gonna be much, much better 10 minutes later, to be honest. So, as we go forward in this game and both teams are just building up their eco, this eco differential will start meaning less and less. Here come the knights. They might actually find a couple of villager picks over here. Villagers, you can fit all 15 of these into the TC without any problems. So, with that, knights are out, and you gotta jump on those villagers. The lady was low HP, and she loses her life. Another villager goes down. That's a nice find for the damage that Kamigawa has taken. Hill on the side of BacT, though, and this is not a fight that you want to take with +1 defense only, especially against the hill. +2 defense not in right now for Kamigawa, but now they see where the crossbows are, and that means the Rattans can start moving in. There isn't really a lot of knights for Capoch. He's got 4, and there is scaleboarding just now coming in, so those Rattans could actually start becoming threatening. They don't have ballistics though, so that means they can't really kill villagers over here. Now the knights will take the hill, but still not fight this one. Instead, they will loop all the way around and try to hit this side of the wall. Husbandry now coming in. For Capoch, prioritizes +1 attack instead of +2 defense. His gold count would be satisfactory for +2 defense as well, but instead he chooses +1 attack first. With that, we're gonna have free TC play now for Ganji's team. They are catching up in Voyager count. It's only 10 Voyager differential now. Wheelbarrow in for everybody in this game. So, other than that, Horse color only for both Kanji and Kamigawa. And there is heavy plow in as well for Capoch. Heavy plow with Sicilians is actually crazy. With how much food you get on that farm. Still, that only saves you a couple of lumberjacks and probably some APM, so that you don't have to reseed them automatically. But with that, there's a second castle coming in for Ganji. He's already walling off the corner, so they're preparing for trade in this late game. You see that Kamigawa already built his market on the left. This is because he needed the market, and there is no point building a market at this stage over here. You can just drop the market here. And that's going to be helpful later on with the trade. There is apparently BacT being heavy on stone, so he wants a castle for himself. But here's the problem. That's only 2 crossbows inside those ranges, and an emergency siege workshop coming in here for BacT. The archers or the Rattans from Ganji still do not have ballistics, and they're not pushing that gold mine, but that could have been a problem if they start pushing that gold mine. With that, Knights are now diving in on the TC, and I think they might even commit to this one, although they decide not to. I wonder if Ganji and Kamigawa know about the other TC, and the answer is yes, they know about it, and they just want to harass as much as possible. So, Voyager count still 10 in the favor of Capoch's team, but there is Imperial Age coming in for both Archer players. Still, if it's Imp versus Imp, Rattan Archers will just clap any unit that the Mayans can do that's actually ranged. Obviously, egos could help, but when the opponent is gonna be a Paladin civilization, that's not gonna help a lot. +1, +2 for Capoch's Knights. There is no +1 attack for Genji's Knights, so you don't really want to take this fight right now. Or at least you want to wait until you get ballistics, because your opponent already has ballistics. Over here, TC coming in here for BacT on this gold mine. That's going to be TC number 4 for him. His teammate Capoch is on 5 TCs, man. He's a big boomer over here, but Imperial Age coming in here for Kamigawa. He's behind by 30 Vogers compared to Capoch, but he's gonna beat him to Imperial a little bit, and the Cavalier timing could be extremely important here. Being able to get Cavalier like 30 seconds faster than your opponent can be the difference maker between win and loss. Still, we shouldn't underestimate the fact that Capoch has 123 Vogers, and his opponent only 88. 88 for a Cavalry player is very, very low, so Kamigawa still needs to keep adding Vogers here. Otherwise, his eco isn't going to be enough for Paladins. But here's the deal. As long as it is Cavaliers, Capoch should have the advantage, and he can overrun the opponent with more Cavaliers with that stronger eco. But once we get to Paladins, that could be very problematic for Sicilians. There's a castle up, and honestly, it could make sense to pop First Crusade right now for Capoch. Not necessarily because Sergeants are great here. It's because of numbers. You have 5 TCs, that would be 35 infantry immediately, and Capoch sneaks a couple of stables in the corner to potentially deny future trade. There is a sergeant marching in. That's the only sergeant on the map right now. Kills the Voling Voyager. And with that, a castle coming in here as well for Ganji's Rattans. 3 castles up already, and the map control is fairly decent for them. Imperial Age almost in for Kamigawa, up to 95 Vogers. He will be able to afford Cavalier, but not even +4 defense, let alone Paladin. So, Kamigawa won't really be able to go for Paladin, but we have Rattan Archers already, with the +4 defense coming in, Chemistry and the Bracer already in. Elite Rattan not yet there just yet. So, we're gonna have potentially a big fight over here in the middle. Arbalests are now in, but Rattans will start picking them apart from a long distance. Plate barding for Kamigawa first. He needs to balance his eco a little bit to get Cavalier. He gets Cavalier, and this is what I said. That faster Cavalier time scale mail. That's scale mail for Capoch. I think he will pop First Crusade. He's going for Sergeants. He's queuing up Sergeants, and as I said, the timing of the Imperial could be extremely important, because being to Cavalier a little bit faster helps so much, and all those ARPs could just go down. They will have no chance to escape, because these will all be Cavaliers. There will be some light cav being spammed here by Capoch, and that's going to be extremely annoying for Ganji to deal with, but all those ARPs are going down. They all go down. Squires, Blast Furnace as well, and there is no ARPs right now for for Kamigawa, and that's a problem. Look at this. That's Paladin. That's soon Paladin for Kamigawa. In 3 minutes, we'll have about 30 Spanish Paladins on the field. There's going to be a defensive castle to stop these raids, and they should be good to go with that. Stone walls coming up as well alongside the house to prevent the raids from happening here. Cavalier is now in, and look at this. Chainmail, Conscription. We might see Capoch and BacT ending their tournament with what could very well be a first crusade, because they need numbers. Those are Cavaliers now, congratulations, but you won't have Paladin, and that's the problem. You don't have Paladin over here. Ratton's not diving in, 82 army against 50, and I think it's an upset. Regardless of the fact that there is more team game chemistry between Kamigawa and Ganji compared to BacT and Capoch, individually, as there is the Elite Sergeant being robbed, individually, Capoch and BacT are much better players, and I think we have the first big upset of the tournament, if this is a win for RoR, and it seems like it. Rulers of Rome played in the main event of 2-1, and it looks like they are back for 2-2, and Capoch and BacT, a surprise defeat over here potentially. Now there is a Pikeman and Plate Mail, but there is Elite Sergeants there. Look at this. He's queuing up Sergeants. This is the time to pop First Crusade if you feel like, okay, I want to play with Sergeants. So it's sort of now or never situation now, because the TCs are being taken down by the cavalry. So if you don't get First Crusade right now, it's going to start becoming worse. In fact, you already have 1, 2, 3, 4, still 5, 6 TCs. That will be indeed... No, wait, that's Cottage. What does that upgrade even do, man? Wait a second, what does Cottage do? I wonder if he wanted to pop First Crusade. Because now it's Paladins and Rattan Archers. Someone on chat probably knows Cottage, but I don't think it's an important upgrade. Oh, 15 gold per military unit? Well, Ripperino, he had like 15 military on the field. Gives you gold per unit. Oh my goodness, I remember that upgrade now. Well, that's not the upgrade that you want, that's for sure, and I assume it's a fairly expensive upgrade. Oh my goodness. Still no First Crusade. I think he's just going to realize, oh shoot, I'm not First Crusade, but doesn't really matter now. Honestly, I just want to see First Crusade at the end, because just 40 Paladins on the field. Wherever I look, there is yellow dots. Look at that. Flood streaming across the map, and now this TC is gonna go down as well. These Vergers are all dead, and Rattan Archers will just clean this one up. A castle coming in here. Ganji Kamigawa, with the assistance of Modri, will defeat BacT and Capoch, and we'll get to the main event of 2-pos, because there is no way back, I believe, here for Capoch now. They're just losing left and right. It's 113 army against 49, an army that actually hard counters what Capoch and BacT has. And with that, it is over. BacT and Capoch are out, and RoR defeating seed number 2 in the qualifiers. Because there seems to be no chance. 75 Rattan Archers against Ganji, and Ganji played out of his mind as well in this set. Kamigawa also played well, but I think Ganji actually was performing extremely well overall. I think he was the better player among the two today. He has played an insane Arabia game with the Arbs, he has played a very good game with the Rattans here, but Kamigawa, after being a little bit low, reaching Imperial with 88 Voyagers, that early imp helped so much for them. And the draft, this map is very heavily focused on the safe draft and preparation, and it seems like that was better for RoR, because their draft ends up being better, being able to have Vietnamese in the first po and then combining it with Spanish proves to be the good choice. This castle is getting denied here. That was a doubt castle from BacT. His eco is getting raided over here left and right, and there is still no First Crusade, but to be honest, there is no point of that either anymore. So, I mean, when Rattan Archers are killing your TCs, you know you're in trouble. And with that, I feel like this is the only thing that actually is still there for Capoch and BacT. Everything else is just falling apart. TC going down over here on the left side. This castle has been stopped. Still, they hold the hill here, but they are behind by 60 villagers, 30 army, 363 population, as Capoch's team calls the GG, and RoR gets back into the main event of two pools. They played in the first round as well, so they were outside of the top 8 seeds for this tournament qualifiers. And Ganji and Kamigawa showing excellent teamwork between them, and Modri stepping in where they needed the clown. Modri didn't play much. In the entire qualifiers, Modri played one game, but that was a very important one game because that guaranteed them a win on Natsukotra. And with that, sort of an upset over here, I would say. RoR gets into the main event, and they're a scary team if they play to their maximum potential. Very, very good teamwork, and you see that even though team game rating is very, very inflated in competitive Age Vampires, so you don't really judge players by their team game rating, in 2v2s and team games, you still gotta look at the fact that both of these players are extremely high in team game rating, and that shows that they are just playing so much team games. So with that, that is a GG over here. We're gonna have RoR in the main event of 2 pools 2.